All right, so we are back, and today I went in all orange studio, as you guys have seen at this point, to honor the man himself, Austin Mushroom, aka Cousin It with hair dye, aka your favorite troll doll. He is the king of the YouTube and TikTok boxing card. He is the man that made Bryce Fall. I know that joke's legs are starting to go, but so did Bryce Hall's when Austin cracked him across the jaw with a right hand, so I feel like at least one more time it was appropriate. Anyway, that is what we're here to talk about today, guys. We are going through fight by fight, at least a couple more of these, and really looking back and seeing not only the X's and O's, but some of the things that surrounded some of these fights. Obviously, we got into the controversy that was Gibb versus Taylor. That fight has been resolved. Today, we are talking about the main event because I want to find out, how did Austin McBroom become Austin McBOOM in 3 months? I mean, he was making Bryce Hall's neck snap back like your favorite flat bill that you keep in the closet. Was there anything Bryce Hall could have done differently except maybe cut his hair into that mullet so that every time he got hit, it looked like the waves in the ocean were raising up and showing you the sea bottom floor? I don't know why he had that haircut. He looked like Joe Dirt with a bowl cut. But anyway, let's get into this thing, the main event of the YouTube versus TikTok card. What happened and where do we go from here? Officially now, Bryce Fall versus Austin McBOOM. The breakdown, let's go. As we get into the actual fight, there's a couple of things that we noticed, at least I did, in this first round, and it's just in the first couple of seconds to the first minute of the first round. Right away, Austin, as the fight starts feigning and changing angles. Watch Austin move off his lead foot. Watch him pivot off of that lead right foot. And off of that, Bryce always has to square back to Austin. No matter where the fight goes, Austin can, again, pivot off the lead foot and turn away from the power hand. Bryce is orthodox, and because of that, Bryce has to re-square himself and then get back to his offense. Already an advantage for Austin. Another thing you see from Austin right away is the feints. You see Austin continually feigning out his lead hand jab, and Bryce is biting on every single one of them like he tried to bite Austin's ankle in that press conference. The man just wanted a bone. Now, the first big time feint that Bryce bites on is the high feint from the jab, right? Austin lets go a high feint with his right hand. The straight left hand comes behind it. And again, this is showing two things. Austin being able to change levels because he goes to the body, and Bryce trying to parry with that lead hand. Now you start to see Austin land these big time straight left hands right down the pipe, and it's off the jab feint. Bryce is on the center line ready to be hit, but there is one moment in the first round where he actually comes off the center line. He pulls his head back. Again, an over-aggressive straight left hand from Austin because they're both still new and he wants to knock him out. Bryce pulls back on it and counters big time, lands a really good shot. Now, it wasn't a straight shot. It was still kind of the slappy stuff that, again, Bryce fell prey to here in this fight, but it was a good enough shot to get Austin's attention and make Austin clinch, something that Bryce ended up doing way too much of because basically Bryce was continually getting hit and scrambling like a wrestler would. He got tagged. The first thing that went to his mind, the old instincts. Wrestle, body lock, double leg, whatever it was. Bryce wanted to get his hands around Austin as soon as he got hit to protect himself versus moving his head, not going straight back, not staying on the center line, and returning on balance. None of that stuff was really seen. And as we talk about Bryce's probably best shot of the fight, his counter pull right hand, he kind of starts to fall in love with that action, and again, parrying with the lead hand because now Austin has seen him do it a couple of times where he wants to parry, right hand, parry, right hand. This is what I was talking about with the feints from Austin. Now he just starts feinting the jab. And again, what comes down? The lead hand from Bryce, which opens up that lane like the fast pass on the freeway during rush hour, and Austin throws straight down the pipe. Bryce eats a mouthful of fist. That round goes to Austin. He wins the first. So round two, we start, and Austin's already going with the feints. Again, big time feint, straight left hand down the pipe. And what that shows me is that Bryce is having a hard time adjusting, right? Whether it's to Austin being a southpaw or just the feints in general, or the shots coming again from the southpaw stance, the straight left hand, Bryce is having trouble with it, and he's not being able to fix it. So as we suspected here in the second round, Austin goes orthodox and lands a pretty decent shot, but you could tell Austin wasn't as comfortable out of orthodox. Yeah, he was throwing big time shots and eventually landed the shot that put Bryce down in orthodox, but when they were in orthodox, Bryce had far more success. So again, you start to see Austin play with the angles, right? He's not just moving away from Bryce's power. He's moving into it, getting Bryce to throw, pivoting off, pivoting back in, getting on the straight line, landing the big left. And he does that again around the 1 minute mark. Bryce is still walking straight into range and not taking different angles and not jabbing his way in. And Austin makes him pay for it. Boom, another big straight left hand down the pipe, and it clips Bryce on the nose again. And that was really the story of the fight. Everything that Bryce did wrong, Austin did right. Bryce would throw slappy punches. Austin would throw big straights down the pipe. Bryce would bite on feints without jabbing his way into range. Austin would feint his way into range, sometimes pop the jab. and the straight left behind it. The boxing fundamentals from Bryce weren't there. Austin definitely wins round 2. He's already up 2-0 on Bryce. And this is when you start to hear Bryce's corner get a little concerned. And that's when they started to tell Bryce, let's make this a street fight, which Bryce said he has 40 of. He's well experienced. Wait, no, he said he wasn't a fighter. He never claimed to be, but they got him in 4K saying that he was a real fighter, and then he tried to deny it after he got his ass kicked.
I'm gonna knock out Austin because I'm an actual fighter.
I'm not a fighter. I've never claimed to be a fighter.
I'm fucking confused. I don't know. Even as we start the 3rd round, you start to see kind of the epitome of the fight. Bryce, knowing he's down on the scorecards now, gonna start brawling, which he was kind of doing anyway, but he comes out as soon as the bell rings and he tries to throw the big right hand baseball pitch Fousey tube style. And Austin, being the southpaw, he can plant on the lead foot and pivot away, and that's what he does, right out of harm's way. Nothing lands. But I will say Bryce did have the best round, in my opinion, up until the stoppage that he'd had all night. Early in the round, Austin goes orthodox, and what did I say? Bryce had the most success when Austin went orthodox because that's probably who he trained with and how he sparred. And Bryce lands a big left hook on him, and immediately you see Austin switch right back to southpaw. And in this round, you started to see Austin get a little bit sloppy and probably a little more tired here when he was kind of laboring out the straight lefts, and there weren't many feints. He was just throwing it with no setup, and Bryce started to recognize it. The head started to move off the center line, but the key factor and the reason Austin was continually able to be successful, Bryce wouldn't follow up. Either he couldn't, he didn't have the technique, he was tired, or didn't recognize he was in a good position to go ahead and follow up. There are times the left hook is there. There are times the straight right hand is there. Austin's throwing in baseball pitch style, straight left hands, and ending up this far away from Bryce, the guy with the shorter reach that does like to throw the hooks. That's the time to do it. And either Bryce just didn't recognize it, didn't have the energy to do it, or flat out didn't have the technique and skill. And then we get to the ending sequence of the fight, and I will say, while this fight was not necessarily the most technical thing in the world, Austin impressed me with some of his footwork and some of the things he was doing to set up his shots out of southpaw. But this right here was the icing on the cake for Austin. All right, so what happens is Bryce has been following Austin this entire fight. He's following Austin like a lost puppy, right? He's continually not cutting Austin off, just following him, stepping into range, no jab, nothing. Well, as this ending sequence starts, again, Austin starts playing with the angles, starts shifting, and finally starts circling toward Bryce's power hand, but then stops. And Bryce doesn't recognize it. He just keeps walking forward, marching in form like an ROTC student, and Austin recognizes it, and what do you think he goes to? Big straight left hand, and this one snaps Bryce Hall's sloth neck all the way back to the fucking Ice Age, because this one landed flush. And Austin starts to follow up. He lands a 5-punch combo. Yeah, it was a little wild, but fair play. He landed accurately as Bryce was moving his head all over the place, not necessarily to avoid shots, but to try to grab Austin once again. So the referee gives Bryce Hall another standing 8, and immediately, just as if we'd started another round, both guys come back together and Austin goes orthodox again. And this is around the time where I think Bryce realized the only street fighter he'd ever been is when he was in his local arcade putting coins in the machine and picking Dao Sim or Ryu when he was trying to fight it out on the sticks. Austin walks in, tries to throw the uppercut. It lands somewhat on Bryce's face because Bryce, again, ducking that head, looking to grapple. Referee separates him again, and instead of going with the uppercut this time, Austin goes with the straight shots, the shots that have been so good to him the entire fight. But this time, his power hand is his right hand, out of orthodox, lands it flush straight down the pipe. And the first angle, you can't really see this, and this is why a lot of people called early stoppage. And while it may look like Austin just throws him down, it was almost more of Bryce trying to grab onto Austin and losing his balance, because watch this other angle. As Bryce gets clipped with this big right hand, you can see the jaw go from vertical to perpendicular real quick, and his right leg starts twitching like he was stanky legging. The man's leg started to buckle. And if Austin's not there to grab, he falls down anyway, in my opinion. I think it's a good stoppage. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the referee, like tongue lashing the guys over and over. It's their first fight. But fair play to him. I think that was the right call. Austin McBOOM wins the fight. And fair play. It was his fight to win. He was the better boxer. He was the more polished, technical. Southpaw definitely gave Bryce problems, but it was more of the fact that Austin was able to make Bryce do things. He was able to make him miss. He was able to make him chase, and he was able to make him continue to engage even when he was losing. A guy like Bryce should have started to realize, and his corner should have said this too, start jabbing yourself into range. Start head movement off of your jab. Again, for Bryce, yeah, this was an experience issue. He wasn't experienced, but also I think his wrestling and his street fighting days had prepared him to wrestle and street fight. Because sometimes when you're taught or learn a certain way that's kind of shitty and kind of crappy, it's almost harder to unlearn those techniques than reteach your body how to do something as an adult versus coming into something brand new and learning the correct way. And I think that is a big thing that no one's talking about. Not that Bryce didn't give any effort, fair play to the guy. He went and had training camp, he worked his ass off, but sometimes it takes twice the amount of time to unlearn than relearn than just someone coming in brand new. So there you have it. What is next for both guys? I don't think Bryce is probably ever gonna fight, but if he did, it's not gonna be with KSI. But I do see Austin going on and fighting again. I think that he knows he's got skill for the sport and he can make money in the sport. So the question remains, what happens next for Austin McBroom? Listen, he's put it out there. He wants the Jake Paul fight. I don't know if he gets that one, especially if Jake goes on and beats Tyron, which we're gonna talk about coming up. We got a lot of stuff to break down on that, but maybe we could see a KSI fight. Maybe we could see a Gib fight. I don't have the answers, but I guarantee you guys know where I'm going with this next statement when I say in due time, guess we'll find out.